Just to take care of it, make it
Good
go.
evening. I'd like to call the April, May combined Park and Rec Commission. The first thing to do is acknowledge we do have a quorum. Moving on, is approval of the minutes from March 28th, 2019.
Second.
Further discussion? If not, excuse me, all in favor of said motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like same sign. Motion's carried. Moving on, alter the agenda. We're gonna move item number 2, commission elections, down to following donations. If that's okay with everybody else. We got a lot of people here, so we want to give them the benefit of the doubt of getting heard. Next item is under unfinished business, and the first one will be also changing the order. Will be a request by the Historic Park and Business Association for naming. Craig, you want to lead us on for that, please?
Certainly. So we have our friend Jeff, who's become an honorary member of our commission now, his wife Deb, and Chief Kudik here. As I put in the memo, pretty short and sweet, but a number of us met at the fire station to discuss this, and I think we came up with a very good solution to a name. We're talking about the Upper Overlook, which really does not have a name. That's part of the Riverfront Parkway, our Riverwalk, but taking into consideration the family, the 2 firefighters that had died on duty, how we want to recognize the firefighters for their 150th anniversary and going forward, we came up with this name, which is called Firefighters Memorial Bluff. So it's not a park necessarily, but it's that area, and we're looking at doing a nice typical wood park sign there. So that area would be called Firefighters Memorial Bluff. And then the plaza, which the commission's already approved back a couple of months ago, would now include both a stone in honor of Mr. Groth and also Mr. Schlamer. And then they're also still continuing to do with the flagpole from Barton School and the bricks and everything that we approved before. But it's a nice way, I think, of honoring 2 firefighters that gave their life to the city. And at the same time, recognize kind of in general firefighters. I did, believe it or not, I did ask the police chief for his opinion and asked him if he needed a space for police. He said, no, we're good. So we've passed that as well. So I'll invite Jeff or Jerry if you have anything else you want to add or anything coming up as far as progress and some dates coming forward. Feel free to come up to our table here and share your information.
Yeah, I had a lot of really good responses so far. In fact, yesterday I got $1,000 donation towards the memorial and for a couple stones, and then $500 towards, well, the flagpole we got is a great flagpole, but it needs some parts. We got $500 worth of parts we gotta get from a new ball and a new rope. And so I'll make sure that once the flag's up, it's gonna stay there. And we got a new flag, 5x8, and then a 3x5 firefighter remembrance flag hang below it. So, but there's been a lot of good responses between the teachers and firefighters and the businesses, because like I say, one of the firefighters was opening his own business, and it's been hitting a nerve on a lot of different places. Saturday I was at the farmer's market, and there's a retired firefighter from Milwaukee. They did one in Milwaukee, and he said some of our stones are $100. He said, we did that 20 years ago. He said, you got really good prices on your stones, and he said, you know, he said our stones are even a nicer stone than they had, because ours are out of granite. And I told him, I said, well, that's the only one. The other time you're gonna see your name in granite, and that time you might not ever see it. So, but it's got a lot of good response. Everybody I've been talking to has been really upbeat about it, and it's been great. And, you know.
Jeff, does this include illumination or lighting?
Is the what?
Lighting for it?
Yeah. We're gonna be putting a flagpole up pretty soon here now, and then electrician's gonna come over and we're gonna bury dust of dawn on the flagpole and a little flag, and then we're gonna have a separate breaker if we want to string some other lights at Christmas or whatever. And so we're gonna have 2 circuits on it. So
The flag will be lit all night then?
yeah, the flag will be lit dust of dawn. Yeah, but it's great, you know.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments from this commission?
We get approval.
Chief, you have anything else you want to add?
Can I wait till after the vote?
Sure.
I just want to say thanks, and that's why I was waiting till after the vote.
Oh, okay.
I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a way to honor these 2 gentlemen who gave their lives serving the city. appreciate the Barton Business Association coming forward with it, and offering the naming right, or not the naming rights, but the ability to name it Firefighter Memorial Bluff and to remember these gentlemen, so thanks everybody that participated in it.
Thank you.
And what's nice about it too is we're honoring not only West Bend's 150th this year, but we're honoring the Barton firefighters too. They started around 1900 and went to 1964, but with getting the Barton name on there, I mean, we're really, you know, letting a lot more families get honored up there, so.
Okay. Any comments on part of the commission? If not, I entertain a motion to adapt this naming, what is that officially called?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Firefighters Memorial Block. Okay. Further discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion's carried. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, folks, for everything you've done for us.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Deb. We'll see you guys around. I think they're looking at officially unveiling this in September.
Another grand opening.
Yep, another grand opening.
Need some order for us?
You can leave a couple behind.
Thanks.
Okay.
Barton Days are gonna be held, I think, September 7. They're looking maybe a couple weeks after that to tie it to the 150th anniversary and open up the plaza officially.
Okay, moving on to number
Thank you, guys.
A, under unfinished business, which is the Neutral Mall Library Recreation Center. Need to sign anything?
Yes, we have paper copies for everyone,
Where's mine?
well, for almost everyone. As you can, thank you.
Thank you.
The Wi-Fi is not working at City Hall, so Jim, as usual, is the smartest man in the room, and he brought his paper copies, so we're going to paper tonight.
Mike told me he's gonna fix it as soon as the meeting's over, so how big deal.
Perfect. These are IT. Which Mike?
There's 5 of us. That's what I was looking at, I'm like,
Not me.
Let's see, we'll go by age. Mike number 3. Because that's number 1. Old Mike.
All right, so this topic we did discuss somewhat back, I think in February. And we didn't have a meeting in April, as you know, so we're bringing this forward now. So I'll go through a little bit more information to get everybody up to speed. We have Amy from the library here as well to answer some questions if you have them, and she can talk about their commitment. But going back, we're looking at losing use of the Mutual Mall. They did actually have, nothing's happened in 90 days so far, so there's an extension with the same company to continue to shop it. I think they're looking at a different developer and all that, so they have through August now with the city. That was just agreed on Monday night, and so we'll see if something develops over the summer or not. Steve maybe has more information or doesn't, but it doesn't matter, it's been extended for 90 more days. So we're trying to be proactive, and we met with the library a couple different times. I've now spoken to their board twice, and met again last night. And so you have the floor plan, I'll call it a final draft maybe, preliminary. Yeah. So this is kind of internally with our staff putting this together. This is the basement of the library, and this is a full build out you see here. So there's a couple multi-purpose rooms, a dance studio, storage, a little conference area, a classroom or art room, and restrooms. And also some library storage, and then a lobby area. So what we're looking really at doing first is we're calling phase 1, which would be the bottom left, which is the dance studio and multi-purpose room, the restrooms on the bottom, and then maybe a storage area, and build out some walls. I'll go through the costs in a little bit. So that's where we're at, but it's the library's board and is going to meet with us, and we're going to kind of go through this and finalize it. So that's kind of the floor plan. We've been working with Zimmerman Design, and they've been great to us to do all this work so far for free. And so we thank Zimmerman to get us to this point. Then you also should have a cost estimate in your written packet. And so we've tried to refine these numbers. This is based on some other projects that they're working on currently, square footage wise, so it's a cost estimate, but a fairly refined one. And it shows that we're near $400,000, which is a pretty big number. So we've talked about internally, we think we can get it down to about 300. We feel that the city, since we do a lot of projects, could be the general on this, and we can knock out all that work. We also think that we can talk to some folks and hope to get some better prices and then get it down to about 300,000. And that's for phase one. So again, that's the dance studio, multi-purpose room 2, restrooms, and a little bit more work. There's a lot of mechanical that has to happen, and they do have heating and cooling, but there's some ventilation that needs to be run. There's a little work on fire protection on the sprinkler system. There's some plumbing, obviously, with the restrooms. There's a lot of electrical, and then the build-out itself. So we're kind of at that point. Where we are with the library is we've talked about the general numbers, but we certainly have not got down to, are we doing this 50-50? Is there rent? Is there paying for utilities? That's kind of our next step. But we want to first talk with the Park Commission, answer any kind of questions you folks have, and then if it's green lighted, we'll continue to move forward in the process. So that's a really quick overview. Amy, maybe if you want to share what the board kind of talked about last night and their interest level.
The library board was very appreciative of Craig coming to our meeting and talking to us about this potential partnership. They are excited about the opportunity of partnering with parks and having them in our basement. We think it'll bring more people to the library and maybe even more people to parks and rec. So I think it's a win-win situation. As far as building costs and things, you know, I think that number needs to be refined as far as what the library can contribute to that. Some numbers were tossed around at the meeting, but nothing was finalized.
So we're probably looking, if we're going to continue on this process, is probably asking a few of our commission members to be on a committee to kind of talk through this and refine those numbers, figure out, should we do rent, how are we going to pay for utilities, how should we split this, if somebody does more up front, is there less rent, and vice versa. Trying to get into some more of the details. So after tonight, if we're moving forward, we're planning on taking this to the council on June 3rd. Mostly as a matter of information. The funding sources we're looking at for all of this on our end is really using the recreation funds, our park PARC fund, and potentially talking to the Friends Group for some. We're also looking at some donors who are doing some of this. And the library also has their segregated funds. So right now, we're really not looking at taxpayer dollars to do this, even though we're talking $300,000. It's a big number. But I think we have some funding mechanisms that we can make this happen.
Craig, I'm gonna change you on that.
Sure.
The funds that we would be using from the library may well be taxpayer funds.
Okay. I don't know what you have a whole,
Yeah.
you have a whole budget.
Long list and budget and all that, but we do have some reserve funds in some of our operating lines. Not in this year's operating lines, but from previous years that we have saved over the years.
Okay. They have a somewhat similar situation where they're a little different funding mechanism. They keep money from year to year also, it stays with them. It doesn't necessarily go back to the city. So anyways, we're trying to figure out which funding mechanisms we'll use. So plan would be to go to council and kind of share the whole idea, concept with them. We're partnering on this, and that will continue to work kind of on the numbers. If we're green lighted there, then we would want to hire Zimmerman to do actual real design. And that would include, again, this committee to kind of go through it and say, yeah, we're pretty good with this, but we want to shrink this room or size this up or do those kind of things, kind of refine the plan, and then do specs and plans. Timing is kind of up in the air. Optimally, we would look at getting design done June into July, probably doing bidding over the summer yet, and try and do construction in the fall in hopes that we'd have this ready for the first of the year. That's optimal. If this building gets sold sooner and things move faster or they're going to tear it down or something, we need to get out, we'd have to do some different things short term. We do have a couple facilities that we own, obviously, that we could probably piece together if we can. But right now, our plan is to still use Mutual Mall in the fall for our programs. And most of that, we have a huge dance program. We have over 200 children per week. And basically in 2 nights that run through there. We have a theater program, we have aerobics, we do adult dance, we do a number of other things. The community uses it as well. So it's used pretty heavily Monday through Thursday evenings. And to not have those programs would be a huge blow. So we're trying to keep things moving. So Steve, I don't know if you have anything else you can or want to share from council level, but
Really can't because most of it's in closed session.
Right.
The only thing that came out of there was same guy, 90 more days.
okay. So they extended 90 days, and we'll see what happens then. But no, I was really happy. We've kind of been taking this step by step, and the library board seems very interested. We've worked through exits and fire protection, and there's parking will be some kind of an issue, but we really think the cross marketing promotions will work great. And I know it happens a lot. Mom comes, drops off kid at class, they have 45 minutes to kill. Then go upstairs and use the library and take the other kids with them, check out some books or other resources. I think that's gonna be great for the library, and vice versa. They're gonna see programs happening at the library. They might get signed up for our classes. The library would definitely use the spaces as well. We just have to work out if we're using evenings or during days or weekends or whatever it is. So, kind of a quick overview. We spent a lot more time on it, but I condensed it down to about a 5-minute speech. So,
What is the entrance like in this? I mean, you go right through the library or?
you would, no, you'd actually,
We would go into the library and then go down to the elevator and then go down the elevator.
Okay.
they have an access,
There is an access, on the outside of the gates, but for security reasons, we need people to come in and go down the elevator. Otherwise, people will find out that they can go down and not go on through our gates and all that, so, but it's accessible for wheelchairs and strollers and all that fun stuff, so it'll be really nice.
Would that be stairway 1, 2, or 3?
Stairway 1, and then you see the, elevator next to stairway 1, that's the elevator that would go down, right into the lobby.
I take it because right now, your programs are paying nothing for rental, so it sounds like there's gonna be a rental, library's gonna charge the Parks Department something. I would take it, you're gonna have to up the rate for your students also, right? Cause that money has to come from somewhere, correct? I mean, that's gonna be, you're gonna all of a sudden impact the students for dance, everything. I don't even think doubling would cover it, would it?
we haven't figured out what
Nobody's
the
figured,
numbers
okay,
are.
cause
No.
that's gotta go into the equation.
Right.
All of a sudden, we have to be paying out this rent for this, and we're self-sufficient, right? Where is that gonna come from?
Yeah.
Right,
So, I mean, that has to go into this equation, definitely, cost per
Correct.
student, per,
correct. So that's why we're just starting that process.
okay.
I mean, if we, it's gonna be a balance, so if this, what the library, one of the gentlemen on the library board last night said, he was gonna cover all of it, so then we're good, but we probably have to owe him some rent. He was just kidding, I'm kidding. But it really depends, I think, on how much is up front from the library, and then what we can afford, but, I mean, if they're thinking we're gonna pay $5,000 a month, that's not gonna happen,
No,
so.
no,
You know, I'm thinking we gotta cover utilities and figure that out, and maybe if they're gonna use it 50% of the time, we use it, it's split or whatever. So that's a number we gotta deal with utilities, and then, but I like the idea if we can pump some money through that can actually go to the library for some sustainability. It's not gonna be huge numbers, but low thousands of dollars, whatever it is per year, I think can certainly help them, and I think we do okay. But again, we have donations, we have sponsors, we have the mud run, all that stuff goes towards the rec division, and that helps keep our costs low. And we have made some money through the years, but we're looking at also sinking some of that money back into this project, so. So to be determined. So I guess, again, I'd look for probably 2 members of our commission if they want to be part of our committee to talk through the numbers. If you're willing to volunteer, we'll take you.
Question.
Mike? Or you have a question?
No,
Question, how much would the library be contributing to this?
We do not know.
We
So
don't
they
have
may
a
not
number yet.
deliver, they may not contribute anything.
They could say 0, but I don't think that's the direction
I
our
don't think
board
that's
is
the
looking at.
direction they're going.
I think they're probably in the 50-50 range at the moment, with further discussion to happen. But again, I don't wanna pin any numbers on it, and so that's why we wanna, if we get the green light on this, I think we're gonna try and convene a meeting in the next week or 2 to really start hashing through that and figure out what makes sense.
Second thing, so what happens if neutral ball falls through?
If it stays,
It stays as it is, at the current thing? It
Well-
still becomes functional for us?
Yeah,
Have to
well,
move?
it's interesting, it's a good question. I think short term it's still there, but I know there's certain capital things, HVAC, that they're not gonna replace and all that, so will they still heat it? Probably to a minimal level. I think we still need to be proactive though, so maybe this delays a little bit, but at some point they wanna sell the building. They're probably gonna knock it down. I suppose it could be repurposed somehow, but it's not a great building. I think the other positive for us is we're kinda using, I'm nice tonight, a lesser building and lesser space. Really, to cram 200 kids through that room, it's about the size of this room, maybe smaller, with 2 posts in the middle for dancing. To be able to give the community a much nicer facility, better flooring, some more space. And
Lighting.
not have to go in the basement of this guy. Yes, they'll still be in a
HVAC.
basement, but I think it'll be that much nicer for folks. I think we're gonna see an increase in numbers as well, especially the dance program, so.
I think what brings it to my mind, I saw all the success we've had with marketing the Gale property for 12 years, 15 years. I put this in the same classification, to be very honest with you. So if there's a possibility of maintaining this building, if nobody else is in there, and we're the only ones there, I don't think we can overlook that possibility, as much as I think that this is a good solution. I would hate to embark on this and all of a sudden see the city says, well, nobody interested in that, so we got this building, what are we gonna do with it? And if we had the opportunity then to do upgrading there, and we have our own Completeness building, I'd be inclined to look on that probably a little bit more favorably,
Question,
just a thought.
has there been any discussion with what the city's gonna do with the revenues from the sale of the mutual?
I've asked that question.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, I got
I'm
it.
sure it's earmarked or whatever, but at the same time, if there's a,
Everybody throws 100 in, we're right
I mean,
there.
the revenue of the
Right.
sale is good to go, but also, I mean, there's gonna be future tax revenue, obviously. We know what direction that would go in, that makes sense, but I just thought if you're selling something and there's gonna be a profit there, could some of that be towards this? Cause it's not only Park Rec Forestry, it's library, it's a new community space, community center, if you may.
Yeah, I think.
I'm just asking.
No, that's a great question. I've asked the same question. I don't think there's any answers. So if they do sell it for $500,000, it's not like that's earmarked for anything special. I assume they wanna put it into roads or fire engines or whatever. But, I think there's precedence in the city as well. I know there is with the senior center, that they gave $50,000 or $60,000 towards their build out, when they moved into the new building. And so, and that's not even a program of the city. So I think there's some precedence for that. So I do think some of that money should be, I'll say it personally and professionally, earmarked for this. So we'll see where that goes, but again, that may not sell for how many years? So, and if we move ahead, then you don't have that, or maybe get reimbursed, but that's certainly a good topic to bring up at some level.
I can tell you though, building maintenance is moving out like in the next 2 weeks. Finishing
really?
moving, oh yeah. Yep, and a lot of their stuff is going to our building at Riverside in the basement. Cause they now get a boiler room in the police department. They do, that's what they get for their workshop, so.
Remember, Pathways occupied it up to, and their lease is done, so that's going away as well, so.
And I think Weight Watchers is extended through July. So we were pretty much guaranteed to get through the summer, but beyond that, nothing. But with this kind of delay, it might go into the fall. That's what we're looking at. And we're also looking at, not that there's any contractors in this room, but potentially working with a couple of them to see what we can do. For sure to look at the plans and say, hey, this makes a lot of sense. But you have some talent and some expertise and to see if we're on the right path. Or is there a way of cutting some of the costs and still having decent lighting and all that? So look at some expertise at least going through our plans.
As we proceed with this and everything comes in, who has final say on actual utilization of this? Is it the board, the library board, or is it this commission shared, or is it the city administration, or who?
I think last on the list would be city administration. And first would be library and then us, and probably work out some agreement. I don't know if we have to do a written agreement, but I think we have to have some understanding that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights from 4 to 8 is Parks and Rec, and Thursday nights and Friday nights are library, or whatever that is, I don't wanna pin that down, but I think we have certain things we do at certain times, and we wanna work that together, so. I think it'd be a combination of Park and Rec and Library to discuss it, but I'd say ultimately it's the library's building, so I think they would get final say.
The Reindeer Park, the swim house, that's a ways down the road yet?
Yeah, we've been kinda holding off because of this discussion. There was talk, because truly if we look around the community, where is there space to move to? We've looked at the schools and we have some of our own little facilities, but you can't get enough consistent time, and we already are in the schools and can't get more time. So we want to see this first, and if this is gonna happen, I think it makes sense. Then the beach house, maybe we do differently, or we continue on with the same plan we had. If this was not gonna happen, we would actually look at the beach house potentially be a larger,
Okay.
almost rec center, and add some rooms to it to facilitate this. But the problem is that's probably 2 years down the road at best with construction, and this we may need in this year, so. But that's, we wanted to kind of see where this is going. If this continues on and we're gonna go down this path, then I think the beach house we need to relook at. And so we've put that in the corner for a little bit, just to go through this process first. Good question. Anything else, Amy, you wanna add?
I don't think
Nick or Jackie? So, we don't need an approval, but I guess a consensus or a head nod on, yes, should we continue down this path, or, again, we might get to the final finish line, and the bids come in at $750,000, well, we're probably not going to do it. I'm just saying that, you know, we need to see some numbers and all that before we pull the trigger, but I think we're in pretty good shape with understanding what we're dealing with.
So these numbers were just like a going rate that,
Basically, a
It's just
square
little
footage based on some current projects they're working with. I'm hoping, and usually people that do cost estimates are good about making sure they're higher. You don't come back and say, what, you told me it was this number, and now it's 500,000. So I'm hoping these are also a little high, and we can do some engineering on it to knock it down a little bit too. So that's why I appreciate just thoughts even on the plans, and as we get into some of the specs. And
Have you given these drawings to the inspection department?
they were in, I brought them into the building itself. I don't think they've seen these plans.
The route, especially if you're doing the phase one, to make sure what's your minimum that you need to do with it for egress.
Yeah, I assume we'll have to go through the permitting process. I don't think this has to go to plan commission. I don't know, but we'll bring them in pretty soon, once we just wanted to make sure everybody was on board with this idea first.
You know, I like it, I like the parks and the library working together. You know, we're all kind of one group together, I like that part. It's a space that's there that's not being used, I like that part. And if you get more kids in the library, I think it's a good situation. I just wanna make sure the costs aren't out of control here, so. I already got a text into my son to find out. Well, I just put up a couple dance studios out of town. So I'll have some numbers here before you know it, so, just to see that we're not thinking way out of the box here.
Yeah, we want to make it practical, reality, decent, but it doesn't have to be
Right. No,
spending $1 million
like I
on
said,
that.
I like it, we're using something we have. The city for sure is not gonna build a brand new building, there's no way, but at least we're using something we have. I do think we should buy all partnership in it though, I do believe that, with the city also, I think so.
Excellent.
Any other questions or anything else? I'm still just really concerned who has the ultimate oversight, and I think that's something that has to be ironed out in addition to once we see if this is gonna really progress, because unless there's a joint thing that's actually on black and white on paper, I'd be a little reluctant to doing anything at all unless we're sinking that kind of money in something unless we know we have an equivalent to say on what's going on.
Yeah, I think both parties need to have that, so. And I saw
I think they wanted to.
Mike S. and Mike C. were volunteering to be part of our committee.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes it is.
awesome. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Amy, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. And the first item under new business is resolution authorizing transfer of park funds to the Rolfs Dog Park improvements.
Yeah, we're looking I'll say it this way, we're doing a lot of improvements at the dog park. This is working with their group, kind of a loose, I won't say they have a board, but there's certainly some interested parties. So we met last summer and went through a lot of things. So we're actually putting an ADA walkway, 2 new shelters and new concrete pads, some lighting up on top of the park, and I think that's most of what we're doing this year. A lot of the funds are coming from the dog park fund, but we didn't want to drain them completely, so we thought it made sense to take, especially this ADA accessible sidewalk and the concrete pads. So we're looking to pay for the concrete portion of this project from our PARC fund, and the rest of it's coming from the dog park fund.
How much money are we talking about?
$13,000.
You talk about ADA walkways, okay, okay.
It will go, as
Oh,
you
we
come,
had one.
no, we have wood chips and grass.
What do you call from the gate all the way up to the upper?
I would call that definitely not an ADA accessible pen, because it goes like this.
Asphalt trail.
Yeah, it's just an asphalt pathway. This is actually going from, as soon as you walk in, to the left to where that gazebo was.
Okay, yeah.
So meanders, so it's on a flat space.
Yeah.
You
That's
can
as
go-
far as it's going?
Yeah, that part of it. In the future, we're looking at adding trails to the, kind of, as you get to the top of the hill, some more asphalt paths that lead you up to the woods area. That's probably the last thing we've talked about as an improvement.
And Mike, your staff is doing the labor for this? as well?
We did the prep work, things like that.
Mhm.
Also, we worked with TP Concrete. We side by side, literally hauling the spoils out, try and keep some of that cost down. TP did the concrete work. Gibraltar's doing the 2 shelters, and Higher Ground is doing the roof. When they are done, we'll do the restoration.
Perfect.
And
Thanks for
then-
helping out on that.
Yep. And then once it finally stops raining, we will do the solar lights also. We got the bases in last October, November. We have everything laying in our building. We just need it to stop literally raining
Because you
every
use the
day.
bucket truck to go up
The
there.
bucket truck, we need a DPW wheel loader to stand up the light poles, all that stuff, so we need dry ground. If you know where any is, let us know.
And most of the dog park money does come from licenses, is that correct? From-
Correct.
Okay.
They've had some donations through the years,
Yep.
but it really comes from those permits.
Permits.
And we do have a copy of, this later on, but the overall park trust account. So they had 50,000 or so, maybe a little more. I think they're gonna spend 30-ish on their stuff.
Yeah.
And then we're spending 13, so it's about a almost $45,000 investment in the, and they bought the lights last year, so that came out of their funds.
It's all good stuff.
Any other questions regarding this? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve this transfer.
Motion approved.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion's carried. Moving on, program fees, the fall of 2019.
I'll start with the recreation program fees. The major update thing to note is we were approached by the West Bend School District in an effort to share their Fund 80 money for community involvement as it relates to youth recreation programming. And with that, we took the opportunity to use that Fund 80 money and so specifically with the youth for the upcoming school year for 2019 to 2020. And we were able to reduce some of our participation fees with the subsidy of the fund, using the Fund 80 money in the amount of $25. So it's like I said, with the Youth Flag Football League, we were able to charge per participant $20 and then the subsidy of $25, per child up to a certain amount to kind of make up the difference with our fees. And then also with the youth sports instructional programs, we charge $15 onto our user groups. Obviously would increase the participation, make it more affordable for our user groups. And then also with Archer as well, with that program, again, we would charge $20 and then the subsidy of the $25 coming from the Fund 80 funds. Yes.
That fund, okay, it's a great idea, using this fund money. What if it's just a one-time deal? Then next year you gotta go back and bump them all back up again?
Could be a possibility of that, we've been told that we're guaranteed for this upcoming school
Right.
year, that the funds would be there.
Okay, that's the only thing I'm concerned about, you know, you lower it 1 year, then next year they come back and say, well, what are you guys doing here? Oh, I'm sorry, you were subsidized last year, so that's the only thing that,
I mean, I guess we'd have to communicate that to our user groups. You know,
Okay.
How come the fee went up? Well, you know,
Right.
because they're probably gonna ask how come the fee went down.
went
as
down,
well.
correct. I think I would let them know that there was,
Yeah, you know,
like,
that's.
what do you wanna call it, scholarship or whatever you wanna call it, just say, but just that they know, cause it's easy to, charge less. It's very hard to back double your money again back, that makes it tougher again.
Yeah, we've had a number of meetings with the school district. This includes the Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, and us, basically the 3 rec providers in town. And that was our question to them. I said, because what they really want to do is see participation grow
I like it.
for the youth. And so it all makes sense. We said the same thing. I'm dropping it in half or more. And now so that and they have to go through the process, and their budget year is a little different. And they're actually bringing their next year's budget, I think, in September, October. So they still have money from these past couple of years they've told us for 2019, 2020, we're good. They want to keep this sustainable. They want to keep the same amount of money. They're actually tying in I think they're called community resource officers. So the police officers that work in the schools, part of that now is going to be coming out of the Fund 80 budget. And then some of this, which used to be, well, they're supposed to spend it on the pool and those kind of things, and they do, but a lot of it was spent on other things they probably maybe needed to change. So they've looked deep into it, and they've come up, so we really appreciate the partnership.
Oh, I like the idea.
They're also helping with some of our increase then in supplies, so on the archery and football and some of the fall programs. They didn't want it for the summer because they really want to sell it for the school year as a school program. So that's the direction we're going. So yeah, we're kind of taking a leap, but they're saying that they'd like to keep us going on a consistent basis, and we want to keep growing the number of kids in there, so.
Okay.
Yeah, no guarantees, but like I said, hopefully we can keep it going.
Okay.
You know, obviously, even offer for even more programs too, if we can expand on it, might be a possibility, so. And as far as the contracted programs, we have some new programs with our partnership with the Music Academy. It's now located downtown, so we're gonna offer our Sunday music lessons that we've been offering in the past at Mutual. But like I said, now that they have more of a space downtown on Main Street, we're gonna utilize that space for that program, and we're gonna also offer some classes on Saturdays as well, and that's where it's noted new programs such as vocal power singing, bucket drum, all-stars, and then the music lab as well for the 1st and 8th graders. So those are my updates as far as fall program fees go.
Any other fees to be considered?
My fees are on there, it's just the same as last year, we run the same report programs in the fall and they work really well.
Anything else, Jackie, do you have anything? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the program fees as presented.
So move.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor of said motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like same sign. Motion's carried. Moving on to item C, special event, Gears Blue Hills fundraiser. Oh,
The Gears organization, the people, just to refresh your memory, when we were in the other room, that brought in 100 people on 1 day's notice. They are now putting on their first fundraiser at Glacier Blue Hills on Sunday, June 23rd. And they're going to be doing a trail event. They'll be, I think, selling some food. And they're going to be doing some trail tours as well. So this is their first foray into doing a special event. So we're going to work with them and help them through the first one in particular. Explaining to them that they have to have a porta-john and they have to have, all of the rules and regs that are involved. And it's a good thing, though. I think it'll be a great partnership because this will be just another way for them to raise money and awareness of the trails that are going to be at Glacial Blue.
Are they'll be serving alcohol?
No, they're not going to pull a permit
Okay.
for it.
If their turnout's as good as it was here, then
Right.
it should be really good.
We'll need more
Yeah.
parking.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. Any questions at all about this? Entertain a motion to approve this Gears Blue Hills fundraiser on the 23rd.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor of said motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, by the same sign. Motion's carried. Moving on to donations.
I have the first one. West Bend Disc Golf, Josh Ham. We work with Josh Ham. He utilizes the disc golf park. He runs a lot of tournaments, a lot of special events at the disc course in Riverside. And then he turns around and he donates money back to the course. So he has given us $150 to be used towards the course.
Cindy,
I'm next?
you're next.
Okay.
Nick's got the rest.
Oh, all right. I have a donation from Franz Steinbach.
Yep,
The
Franz.
Franz.
He's
Pink.
possibly known as Pink as well,
Pink,
but his
yes.
check comes in as
Yes.
Franz.
And this is going towards the city street tree EAB replacement. It's for $350.
Right. Pleased to announce a donation made by Candy Cane Jewelers in support of the 2019 movie night in the park for the amount of $400. Also pleased to announce donation made by Shooting Star Travels in support of the 2019 movie night in the park for the amount of $400. Pleased to announce donation made by Bob's Main Street Auto and Towing in support of the 2019 movie night in the park in the amount of $500. Also pleased to announce donation made by the Milwaukee Bucks in support of the 2019 Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids in the amount of $750. Pleased to announce a donation made by Meyer in support of the Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids event in the amount of $1,250. Pleased to announce a donation made by Anytime Fitness in support of the 2019 Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids in the amount of $2,000. Pleased to announce a donation made by West Bend Friends of Park and Recreation in support of the Regner Beach operations in the amount of $2,000 and also the purchase of an upgraded AED unit also for $2,000 for a total of $4,000 contribution. Pleased to announce donation made by Rust Arrow Group as the presenting sponsor for the 2019 Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids in the amount of $5,000. I also have a thank you to read from West Bend Community Memorial Library. Dear Park and Rec, thank you very much for your donation to our summer reading program. We appreciate your support, and the children and their grown-ups will love Regner swim passes for completing their reading. Enclosed is a flyer to hang up at the office to show your support of the West Bend Library. Put this up at the beach, so the children read X amount of number of books, and then they get free swim pass to Regner, and then they come and redeem it at Regner for go swimming and enjoy
Nick, just
SpongeBob's and
just off your cuff, how much has been donated for the Ninja Mud Run total?
total. About 20,000.
So does that just barely cover expenses?
Yeah, should cover. Because the amount that we had contributed was 21,750, but they're not all in yet. So
It'll end up being in that $21,000 or $22,000 range, and all said and done.
the ones we've received are right around 20,000.
Okay, very good.
But yes, that should cover the expenses, hopefully.
I entertain a motion to accept and acknowledge said donations.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, all in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to commission elections. Another term. I'd be willing to stand for about one more term. Anybody else would care to? Well, take it instead. Vice Chair, okay. Mike, how about secretary?
Yes, I would like to say a secretary if possible.
Anybody else want to put their hat in the ring for? Why is everybody-
Highly paid position.
Get to sit next to Jim.
Maybe hard to help.
We'll move the nominations be closed. I'll entertain a motion to accept the nominations as presented for chairman and secretary.
So moved.
All in favor of said motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Also the same sign, motion's carried, thank you. Moving on, Chairman. Chairman refers at this time, Secretary.
Nothing out of me today, but thank you for voting me back in again for this highly wanted position.
Yes, highly sought after.
Yes.
Sought after and well paid.
You ran a good campaign.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
yeah.
Those yard signs paid off, I'm telling you.
They were handmade.
Quarterly trust report.
Trust report, so if you look at, this is the end of March. The PARC fund is now down to around 62,000. There was the 13,000 we approved tonight and previously 5,000 from Villa Park, so if you subtract that, we're in that neighborhood. Park fees have continued to trickle in, so we're at the 183 number. And the dog park, the next time you see it'll change based on everything we purchased, but it was at 50 or 55,000 and probably will get down to about 20,000 or so.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that? If not, moving on, walk around, Megan.
Couple things, I'll save the best for last. Field trips are going really well, the weather has not been cooperating, but we are moving on anyways. Camp, 5 of the 6 summer camps are full with wait lists, 1 is full without a wait list yet, that's great. Plant sale was really successful, brought in quite a bit, did really well. Did an after sale this year for the first time, which helped bump up the numbers. So we have some use for that. Nature in the classroom, the field trips are part of that, and that program is not done for the year. We did get new concrete out at LLC in front of the barn in preparation for all the asphalt that will be going in from the Schmidt Road up to the barn, and then from the back part of the barn down to the back driveway. It makes everything a lot easier, it'll be nicer for weddings, it'll stop the mud, it'll hopefully keep people from driving on the walkway. We'll see. Mike's crew did a lot of that. They also they did all the stump grinding and put in new seedlings for grass. So that'll look really nice once the asphalt goes in July, weather permitting. Last but not least, the goats will be coming next week.
Hey.
All right.
I was meeting with Greg, I was taking pictures for Greg Hack, who runs Hack and Goats. This spring has been cold and wet, and it took a lot longer for things to green up down here, so we were kind of on a hold until there was enough. There's gonna be between 45 and 60 goats out there.
What day?
We don't have a date yet, a date. I will email you and let you know.
We've been by this before.
No, it just depends on when they can get them all down there. We have a group coming out tomorrow to set up, to cut the lines for the electric fence that has to go in. So they'll be cutting lines for the electric fence, and then they'll come out and bring the fence. Greg and his partner put up the fence, and then they bring in the goats. So we will have a date. I just have to do it outside of the field trips that are up, so I have to make sure I have availability too, so.
Good, thank you.
But they are coming.
Great, any questions for Megan?
How long are they gonna be there?
3 weeks at least, maybe more depending on, but they are booked now for the summer. We are their first contract to go out, but everybody's delayed, so. But yeah, they're bringing little babies that were born in the spring plus the big giant ones, so we'll see.
There's no weddings in the next 3 weeks, are there?
There are weddings in the next 3 weeks. This weekend, weddings this weekend.
Don't
It's
let them
okay,
know.
just tell them to poop down below.
So I will.
Who are the weddings are going?
There is enough concern from members of the Conservancy. We're not really publicizing it because people are worried that something could happen to the goats. This is really the first urban setting that these goats are being put into. So keep them down low. But I'll let everybody know when they're out there if you want to come out and see them. It will be right off the railroads I don't know how we're going to hide 60 goats 5 feet off of Schmidt Road, but we'll see. There's signage up too, so who knows. Cutting soon.
Okay, Jackie.
I'll be getting that.
Event season has begun. Fiesta Latino was last weekend. They made it through. We also had the Kayak 5K, which ended in the Class Creek. This coming Monday, we have the Memorial Day Parade. Then we start with tournaments. We have tournaments June 7th, June 14th, and June 21st. We also have one in July. They're now talking about one in August or September as well. We have Steak in the Park. June used to be a quiet month. It really did, and now that's not the case. We've got Steak in the Park. We've got Beer Garden, Toad. is gonna be coming in again, the bike race. River Walk, we have to talk, are you gonna talk about that? Good. I won't then, and we have a new Schools Foundation concert, which is coming in on the 29th of June. They're bringing in Rebel Grace, so June is pretty packed, which is awesome.
Okay, any questions for Jackie? Nick, recreation.
Finished up with spring swim lessons on May 11th at the high school pool. Finished up with spring archery sessions on May 18th, last Saturday. Spring programs such as baseball, Sports for Shorty, soccer finished up last week as well out at Claus Creek Park. Pickleball clinic is scheduled for next Thursday, May 30th, out at Claus Pickleball Courts. Beach is scheduled to open Friday, June 7th. So we will start summer staff orientation for beach staff on June 3rd, and then summer activities staff will come on June 4th and start their training that week. And then programs will start the following week, the week of June 10th. We'll start swim lessons that Saturday, June 8th, and then obviously next week, June 10th, we'll have swim lessons as well. And Mud Run, current registration count is 1197. So, and then they have until the 31st of this month, May, at the $30, and then later registration goes up June 1st. Register through July 13th, so. I assume everyone wants to come back and hand out medals again this year? New to that?
Just say yes.
July 13th,
Just say
Saturday
Michael
morning. Get you out of there by about noon, 12:30.
Who's our pickleball instructor?
John Wagner.
You may have heard of him.
Yes.
Gotta call him tomorrow, remind him, but as far as I know, he's
Move on, Mike, of course.
Oh, thanks, Jim. Everything my coworker said, and that's a no, okay. Villa Park, again, we have a great neighborhood group up there. The Friends of Villa Park, I don't know what their Facebook handle is. This last Saturday, they had their another annual kind of volunteer work day up there. They did some renovations to their ball field up there, cleaning out their butterfly garden, picking up sticks to cultivating the mulch in the playground area, things like that. Also, we worked with them and we installed some AstroTurf. No, Mike, we cannot install AstroTurf in Rector Park. Some artificial turf up there for their new Gaga ball pit. So we did the artificial turf, and then they paid for and built the Gaga ball pit. If you want regulations and how to, please contact our rec supervisor, Nick. I'd be happy to take you up there. But it was kind of a cool project, again, for our staff. We've never worked at, like an artificial turf like that before. So how do we do it? Some internet research using our brain cavities, and it actually turned out it's really kind of cool. And it's nice too, with the Gaga ball, if you put it on, you can put it on asphalt or concrete and things like that if you wanted. But if you put it on turf or gravel or whatever, it's going to be mud. These kids are going to be playing in mud. This is their park, their neighborhood park. They've been raising funds and donations, and a lot of sweat equity goes into that property because of them. They also have, I think it's 6 events scheduled this summer out there, and their first one is this coming weekend. So the shelter electrical, that was done last year. We cleaned that up this spring, and I mean, it's really very, very, very impressive group to work with. That was last Saturday. Also this week, Monday, we had a work detail downtown, Park Rec Forestry, city administration, city planning. Several of the businesses were involved, and a huge shout out to Roots and Branches. They had another small army of volunteers on there, and we did everything from clean up landscape beds in front of businesses to remulching to planting annuals to cleaning out some more of the beds. Lots of mulch, lots of activity, lots of people. Main Street was kind of a really cool war zone for a while. Traffic was getting backed up. We didn't care. It was awesome. Again, awesome show by Roots and Branches and their volunteers. We have events like this, and they show up with an army. So good event to work with the downtown business owners. And my last item is we are losing a staff member. Jim Didier is retiring at the end of the month. Good for Jim, not good for us, because Jim's been with us for 18 years. He's got about 40 years of experience in the green industry, definitely someone we are going to miss. Are we going to be filling that position? We don't know because no one answers our question, so yes or no, so.
Just fill it and get it done.
Well, Alan, since you're in charge here,
It's easy.
customer's always right. Alan says, fill the
Fill it,
position,
get
so.
it done.
So no, I mean, good for Jim and his wife and his family. Again, for us, we'll definitely miss Jim. He's kind of one of those guys. He took care of a lot of special projects, things like that for us, so good for him. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Moving on, project manager Cindy.
Okay. Dan Larson finished street tree planting. He'll finish it this week. He's probably done by today. Throughout the whole city, they planted over 300 trees. As was mentioned, Rolfs Park has been going on. Mike forgot to mention they took down that little gazebo at the bottom of the hill. That was probably the most fun part of the whole project for him, besides landscaping and hauling away the spoils. So we did purchase those shelters from Western Wood Structures. If you get out there and look at them, they're gonna look a lot like some of the other ones we have in the parks. So that should be, the shelters should be all done and up by this end of this week. We have Higher Ground Roofing doing a metal roof on those, so he has to measure them once they're all done to get that roofing ordered, and that'll be a few weeks before that gets delivered. So, Lac La Ronde, we got, Mike's who also, he forgot to mention, they put all the base material down for the roadway into that big 40 by 50 pad that's going in front of the barn. They demoed all the concrete, and then they set up the base, so all TP Concrete had to do was come in and set their forms and pour that concrete. So his crew's been busy. We did get bids back today for the asphalt part of that. The lowest bid was $22,629.92. And the reason it was so low is because Mike's crew did all of the work setting up the base. And once they're ready to do the asphalting in that week in July, they'll come back and redo the base so it's the right grade for the asphalt to come in and just do the paving. The West River Walk, we're almost done with the preliminary planning stage. We're meeting with the engineering firm tomorrow for a final walkthrough to get some decisions made before they go ahead with the final plans. We have to work with the building owners on that side of the river to see if we can get some easements for some utility peds and things to go back away from the river edge. And we're working with all the utilities to get that coordinated. Also, SEH is gonna be doing some soil borings for geotechnical information for the walls we're planning on putting up on the west side. And we've been working with the county because they have a cooperative grant agreement with multiple municipalities through the EPA to do investigation of brownfields areas. And the whole west side has been declared a brownfield. So they did some soil borings and we found some contamination. So we still have to do some more investigation so we can plan for cleaning that stuff up and disposing it properly when we do construction. And that is not a cheap thing to do. So the East River Walk, Yankee's done with the work except for some punch list items. Mike, another thing he's gonna be doing is planting trees next week is the plan.
Tuesday morning.
Yep, and we've got some concrete pads to put up for benches, garbage cans, and, bike racks to do yet. And we've got the Yankee subcontractor for the lighting has to come in and put the low voltage lighting in and connect up those pedestrian lights that have been installed to the services on either end. Then it should be just about all done. So,
Looks very
Thank
nice,
you,
so.
Cindy.
grass is growing.
Okay, thank you. Greg?
Also, thanks to Jim Didier for all his years of work here. He was our horticulturist and did a great job, and wish him the best of success in his future endeavors. Two things I think I sent through email, but to refresh your memory for grand openings. Next Tuesday, the 28th, at Regner Park is the Bucks West Bend Mutual Sport Court. About 4 o'clock, I'd say. They're gonna bring in, I think, their Rim Rocker group to do some demonstrations. They have somebody to work with kids, do some little snacks. We'll see if it's a funeral or a celebration the day after Game 7 potentially. So that's Tuesday at 4 o'clock if you can come to Regner Park. And then the biggie, set up for June 27, is the Riverwalk East grand opening. And Jackie and Cindy and myself been working on, mostly Jackie, on details, but we're gonna actually shut down veterans. We're gonna work this with MOA as well, so we're gonna feature their gardens, their new garden area. We're gonna feature the Riverwalk. I think we're gonna have a VIP tent, so look for an invitation for all you fine folks. And that's gonna be like a 4:30 to 6 o'clock deal with probably a 5 o'clock ribbon cutting. Kind of leads into Music on Main that night at 6:30, but it's gonna show the capacity and the capabilities of what can happen on the Riverwalk. If we have different events there, close down the road, you show some electricity. We're gonna have some different giveaways and food things and food trucks and kind of make it fun for the whole community. So VIP tent, the most important thing to know, but there will be something for everyone as well.
What's the date again? I'm sorry.
June 27th, which also lines up with our potential next park commission meeting. So we'll see what kind of items we have, and we might just have it at the VIP tent. From 6:30 to 6:40.
Cheers.
Yeah, we'll see. So to be determined on that date. But thanks to everybody. It's, as you know, this time of year, I say April 1st through July 4th, but you throw on the mud run and we're always busy, but these 3 months and 4 months are the busiest. So from people coming out of the woodwork with calls on their trees to tree plantings, to all the events going on, all the recreation programs, everything else involved, it's crazy time. So thanks to the staff for keeping their head above water and hanging in there.
Very good.
Happy Memorial Day as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
With no further business to come before the commission, I hereby adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.